Hello, everybody. Hi. Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Let's see who's going to be first in the chat. Oh, I see Fremont, California. Oh, but Long Beach Indivisible is actually our first person in the chat today. Lauren, hello. All right, let's keep scrolling. Okay, Jersey City, Alameda, Andover, Massachusetts. Oh, we're going too fast. Shelburne, Vermont. I see, oh my goodness, I see Austin, Texas. I see Longview, Maine, Salem, Oregon, Indiana, Wisconsin, a lot of Wisconsin showing up. Wow. Okay. And now it's going too fast for me. Ezra, can you take a
We got Buckeye, Arizona, Virginia, Western Mass, little old Dadeville, Alabama. Love to see
Fredericksburg
Dadeville,
Indivisible
Alabama.
Coalition?
Of course, New York City. I hope just a note at the top, if you are in New York City, there is a rally in support of Tish James. Just want to be sure everybody knows about it. It's happening at 5 p.m. Eastern time, so in about 2 hours. If you're in the area, really, really, really recommend you
Yes.
show up. This is a
I
time where
totally
we've
agree.
got to be showing up in defense of each other, treat an attack on one like an attack on all, link arms. Obviously, this is politically motivated use of executive branch powers to go after his political enemies, and we got to show him we're not going to accept it. So if you're in the New York City area, please show up
Show
today.
up in solidarity with Tish James. Hands off Tish James.
Indeed.
And actually, shout out to New York because just yesterday the Hands Off New York City coalition launched. Prep folks coming together from
Oh,
across a
5:30 people are saying.
5:30.
5:30 in Foley Square.
Stand,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
5:30 in Foley Square. Appreciate it.
Okay. We'll see if we can post a link in the chat. Yeah. Okay. All right. Shall we get started?
Yeah, let's get started. Hey, y'all, I'm Ezra, one of the co-executive directors of Indivisible, and
I'm Leah.
this is Leah. We are married. We are in this room together, squunched in front of this screen with our mic in a coffee cup because that's what works. This is real. This is grassroots. You found the organizing hub for people trying to save our democracy, and the way we do this is with organizing on the ground. That's how this works. Local indivisible groups spread all over the country who are finding where we can actually do good. We call it What's the Plan? Not because we just are asking about political analyses or our latest take on the news. It's what's the plan because we have a bias for action. And we've got a lot of action to talk about because that's actually what's going to change things. Leah, do you want to talk a little bit about how these calls work for any newbies who are here?
Sure. Welcome, new folks. So these calls are mostly Q&A. We'll do a quick monologue up front about top of the news. But it's mostly going to be Q&A submitted via the Q&A chat box that's in your bottom toolbar. So if you've got questions, put them in via that Q&A function. And we're going to take them mostly from the top. So upvote with the little like thumbs up icon to upvote the ones that you want us to see us answer. So we'll be pulling mostly from there. If you're from an Indivisible group, let us know what Invisible group you're with your question. We like to make sure we're answering ones from practitioners, from people taking action on the ground. This will be recorded. The link will be sent out to everyone who registered. It will be posted on our YouTube channel, so you can watch it as many times as you want. We're going to post links in the chat to the action items or the content that we reference. All of those links are also going to be sent out in the follow-up email. So if you missed something because the chat is moving too fast, then it will come to you in the follow-up email. Finally, just a note on the chat box. We love the chat box. It's amazing. It's a really actually incredible experience to watch people, hive mind sharing as we go through all these topics. Also, we ask that folks really keep that space constructive and respectful. We are a nationwide grassroots movement. We are going through an incredibly hard time in our country. It is super personal and super scary for many, many, many of us on this call. The only way we get through that is together. And so even when we disagree about strategy, even when we disagree about tactics, we want to hold each other up and we want to support each other and recognize that we're in this together.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
Let's talk about something that I love talking about every week, Leah, which is the acceleration of this movement. We had more people register for this call than literally any other call that we've done for What's the Plan this year. Indivisible groups are joining at a absurdly rapid and consistent rate 11 months in. We still are averaging around 5 indivisible groups every single day. And so I get to call out these folks around the country who are joining this movement, who are looking to their left, looking to their right, and saying, well, I guess I've got to do something. And they're forming their indivisible groups. They're welcome here. We need them here. We're all thinking of the 3.5% figure from Maria Stefan and Erica Chenoweth and others. We're trying to build up the mass popular, peaceful, but insistent pro-democracy movement. And that means welcoming new folks in. So in the chat and in your emojis, can you welcome this selection? I can't name all of them, but this selection of brand new Indivisible group leaders who just in the last week started their Indivisible group and registered it. We've got Jay with Indivisible LaGrange in Georgia, Phil with Indivisible East Oahu in Honolulu, Hawaii. We've got Kathy, who registered Boone County Indivisible in Zionsville, Indiana. We've got Mark with Madisonville, Indiana, or Madisonville Indivisible in Madisonville, Kentucky. We've got Susan, Georgian Bay Indivisible, Collingwood, New Jersey. Patsy, Hatboro Indivisible with Hatboro, Pennsylvania. Carly, Indivisible Aberdeen in Aberdeen, South Dakota. William with Indivisible Texas 25. Actually, that's the district that I used to work in for Lloyd Doggett before he was pushed out of that district by Republicans. But in Fort Worth, Texas now. Jamie with Indivisible Pomeroy in Pomeroy, Washington. And Joe with Indivisible Rock County, Evansville, Wisconsin. We limit ourselves to 10 every week. So I gave you 10. That's Georgia, Hawaii, Indiana, Kentucky, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, and Wisconsin. And there are going to be more next week. So if you're hearing this, you're like, there's an Indivisible group in Hatboro, Pennsylvania, but there's not one near me in my town. Start it. Get a few friends together. Make it happen. That's how all of these groups have started. This is how we're building power. This is how we're pushing the Democrats to find their spines and stand up straight against the authoritarians. This is how we're fracturing the MAGA coalition. And this is how we're going to save democracy together, y'all. This is how we're producing the largest peaceful protest in modern American history, which is just around the corner. Leah, do you want to talk about it?
Yes, absolutely. All right, y'all. No Kings coming up in 8 days. 8 days. And
What date is it?
what date is it? It is October 18th.
That's right.
That's right. You might have heard about it on TV earlier today from Mike Johnson.
Oh,
We'll
Mike
talk about
Johnson.
that.
We will.
Okay, but I want to be clear. One, this is now with 2,500 events. There are more events registered on the map right now than No Kings in June. This is going to be the largest single day number of events in American in a single protest in American history. And we think we can make it the largest protest in American history. So a couple of very, very important kind of like quick updates, right? One, if you were like, I am going to have a No Kings event in my town, I'll put it on the map sometime soon. You have to register it today. Register your event today, or it is not happening, because this is the closing. This is the deadline. We are doing some intensive host prep, right? We want to make sure you've got all the resources you need. We want to make sure you get the training and support you need. That means that we are closing registration earlier than normal. So if you were like, I was going to put that on the map on Monday, no, you're not. You got to put it on the map today. Second, recruit. I have heard some amazing ideas on this call before and in similar spaces from folks, and this is your invitation to put your ideas in the chat box right now. But we got to get the word out. We got to get the word out to our folks. We got to get the word out to people who've never gone to a protest before. We want to make sure people feel this in the air, understand that it's the place to be next Sunday, and that they're going to be missing out if that they're not going. Change your profile picture to the No Kings logo. We are going to be putting this profile picture. We're going to be putting a little picture in the follow-up email of the No Kings logo. You can change your profile on all of your social media to start to get that surround sound effect.
I've done that. If you check us out on Blue Sky, you will see we are No Kings. You don't see my face anymore. That's probably for the best.
I've not done it, but I will do it after this call. I promise.
See? You got to be a first mover, because sometimes your spouse then will also do it.
Unfortunately, I'm also not in charge of registering the events. Fortunately, I have this deadline. Okay, and then the other thing. So y'all have had feedback about this before, about we want to have, we need a shared color. We need to have some kind of themes going on. We are asking you to wear yellow if you can. All right, the results are in. The conversations have been bubbling up from all over the internet. We've been seeing lots of people who are kind of coming to yellow as a shared collective color and theme. Sorry, and I said the protest is Sunday, and
this is confusing because our 5-year-old's birthday is on Sunday, and it's really scrambling our heads. No, October 18th is Saturday.
October 18th is Saturday. That's very important correction. Thank you, chat box. Yellow. Wear yellow out to No Kings on Saturday. It's on Saturday. Do not go on Sunday.
A very inconvenient thing about our 5-year-old's birthday and it being in October and around No Kings is that we've been talking about No Kings so much. that the scariest thing that he can imagine being for Halloween that he has now demanded a costume for, and we have acquired for him, is a king costume. So he will be going as a king for Halloween.
Yeah, this is a little awkward. It's a little awkward in our house right now. All right, Ezra, over to you.
Okay, one thing that we want to replicate from No Kings 1 that I need some of y'all's help on this to do. No Kings 1, the vibes were immaculate, y'all. There was dancing, there was singing, there was chanting, there were funny signs. There was this just sense of collective effervescence at these events. People wanted to be part of it, right? And that's part of the vibe that we're going for. Yes, we're standing up to the fascists. Yes, there are these scary authoritarians rattling their sabers. But part of this is us coming together as people, joyfully, boisterously expressing our opinions and standing up for our First Amendment rights. And I think a way to build that in these protests is to have really good signs, have really good chants, have fun songs that people can dance to and pump people up. So the survey that's going to go out after this call is going to crowdsource ideas that we can then spread around the movement. So it's easy, it's quick, it just asks you, tell me, what is the song that you're playing to pump people up? What are some of the signs that you've already made or you're planning to make with fun slogans that other people should think about doing? What are the chants that you've created? I think we've all chanted a lot of the chants throughout this year and over the course of the first Trump term, like this is what democracy looks like. I love that as a chant. And also, we could use some variety. Tell us what you're chanting that you think is a cool new chant that defines the era. We can spread that around. I think the creativity is out there. We want to tap into it. We want to spread around. So please take a look at the survey coming out. And if you can, sometime today or over the weekend, fill it out. We'll collect everything. We'll send it out to everybody else. Leah, let's talk about this more. And
Okay.
I'm hearing about No King's Day now a lot from Stephen Miller and from Mike Johnson and from John Thune and from the Republicans who seem very interested in No King's Day suddenly.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a little bit of an abrupt tonal shift.
Speaking of vibes.
Yeah. So look, we want to open and just cover something that we've heard a lot of people asking about, a lot of energy around, appropriately so. If you got our email yesterday, you will have heard that the White House has begun circulating incredibly false and dangerous claims about Indivisible that are trying to portray us as really just kind of the opposite of everything that we stand for and everything that we are. The claims are unfounded. They are reckless. They are designed to scare people into silence. They are part of a blatant escalation and attack on the First Amendment. Most recently, there was an article in Reuters yesterday that went into more detail about Stephen Miller's planned crackdown on peaceful opposition and pro-democracy organizations.
And Tom posted the link to the Reuters. If you're interested in looking at it, it's worth looking at. It's some good reporting on some scary stuff.
Yeah. And I think we're not going to kind of go into everything that they're saying here because, again, this stuff is baseless and it is entirely a cynical ploy to crack down on organized opposition to Donald Trump and his regime. I'm just going to say a few things. First, anyone who's on this call, anyone who's ever been part of Indivisible knows that since our founding in 2016, we have been firmly committed to nonviolence as both a moral principle and as a core strategic one. We believe that's how we win. We live that commitment every day. Weapons are banned at Indivisible events. We have trained thousands of people in de-escalation to keep spaces peaceful. If you've been part of any of the No Kings event planning, you know how intensively we are working to support hosts in having all of the training and all the support that you need to manage peaceful events. We expect every single participant at No Kings to uphold these standards. This is who we are. We organize peacefully, we organize joyfully, we organize proudly out in the open, and we call for something better. We call for a democracy where all of us belong and all of us are safe and all of us have a voice. So I think we just got to be really clear and call this what it is, which is an open attack on our First Amendment rights.
And the right wing does this so well, right? What they do is they make up totally baseless accusations. And instead of talking about the actual issues of the day, suddenly we are all spending time talking about, well, is it true or isn't it true? And that's the kind of incoming that we get from journalists. And obviously it's baseless. Obviously, it's bullshit. This is coming from the same regime that instigated the bloody attack on the Capitol on January 6th. It's from the same guy who his first act as president this year was to pardon those insurrectionists who beat up cops and tried to subvert democracy. This is from the same guy who weeks ago, when asked about right-wing political violence, the main form of political violence in this country, he said, I quote, "I couldn't care less." The idea that this regime is concerned about political violence is undermined by everything this regime has said and done. So the timing of this, I would say, is not an accident. They know we are carrying out the largest peaceful protest in modern American history 8 days from now. They understand that. That is why they are coming after those who are peacefully organizing, because there is nothing that authoritarians fear more than peaceful, organized people power. That is a threat to their regime. They understand they are unpopular. They understand that the time is ticking on their control, and they've got to lash out. They've got to move forward. It's not going to work, y'all. It is not going to work. They want to scare people. They don't know who they're dealing with. We are not a fearless movement. We understand the risk. We understand that they would like to come at us, but we are a courageous movement. We are not backing down. We are not slowing down. We are not calling off any peaceful protests. We know that our constitutional rights, our First Amendment rights, exist because we exercise them. That's how we protect them. Peaceful protest is our right. It's how Americans have always challenged injustice, from the civil rights movement on to today. And Trump and Stephen Miller and the rest of this regime, they're scared of that. So when you hear these lies, when you hear these smears, remember, one, the claims are baseless and they're dangerous. They're trying to distract and they're trying to divide. Don't let them do that. Two, they're being spread because Trump fears organized, peaceful opposition. Full stop. Three, Indivisible's commitment to nonviolence is unwavering. That should go without saying, but I'll say it again and again and again. We are committed to nonviolence, to peaceful protest, and that's how we're going to win. And we demonstrated that with Hands Off and with May Day and the John Lewis Day of Remembrance, Good Trouble Lives On, and on Labor Day. And we're going to demonstrate it again on No Kings 2, the same way we did on No Kings 1 in June. For peaceful protest is our strength, y'all. It is our strength. Embrace it. First, they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. We're one step from winning. We're one step for winning. And so I will end with, this is going to be fun. We're going to be dancing. We're going to be laughing. We're going to be celebrating. We're going to be having our fun signs and chanting our fun chants. And we're going to be together. And we're going to show this would-be authoritarian regime who really has the power in this country. Because we don't do kings, and no king has power in America. So we will keep you informed of any future developments. But before then, we're going to see you in the streets on October 18th. Leah, should we turn to the questions?
Go to the questions.
Okay, go into the
What we got?
questions. The first question is, if I can pull it up. Top voted. Sorry, most upvotes. Okay, Cynthia wins with the most votes. I am livid about the press briefing this morning by Mike Johnson, as you should be. The message by Republicans is inciting hate and potential violence against those of us who are involved in free speech on October 18th. No Kings, we are not angry, and we are not anti-democracy. We are not Hamas. We are not anti-American. We have constitutional rights, and the Republicans just vilified us. Cynthia, I should just turn the mic over to you. I agree. For folks who didn't see it, Leah, do you want to say what Mike Johnson said? Yeah.
Let's pull it back a little bit, because it wasn't just Mike Johnson.
That's right.
A couple of different Republicans have been let's put this in the context of the ongoing shutdown fight, okay? Right? Mike Johnson's been keeping the House closed because he doesn't want to swear in a new member who will tip the balance in a House vote on the Epstein files. They are stumbling and panicking about the fact that they are super divided as they are trying to, as they're holding out in the shutdown. They're freaking out about the fact that they are being held accountable for the rising costs of healthcare. They don't have a plan. They don't have a message. And as a result, some of them are fastening on to, hey, maybe if we demonize No Kings, maybe if we kind of just go on the offense over here, then people will stop asking us what our plan is on healthcare. People will stop asking us all these uncomfortable questions about Trump's blatant retaliation against his political adversaries. People will, focus somewhere else for once. That is and also simultaneously, we can help to lay the groundwork for that Stephen Miller crackdown. So that's what they are doing right now. So Mike Johnson gave a press conference earlier today in which he made some incredibly incendiary allegations about the No Kings rally is coming up next week. So did Roger Marshall, a senator from Louisiana. A couple of other people did. It's pretty clear that like a coordinated memo went out about like this is your new talking point.
Yep.
Um, I think there's a couple of things here. The first is that like we should actually before we get mad, we should also just like laugh our asses off at this. This is ridiculous, right? Like they are the same people who spent all year saying, "Oh, they're just a bunch of old grannies." Yeah. They're now trying to convince people that this is some kind of this is some kind of threat to them personally. That's ridiculous. One. Two, it is incredibly dangerous that they are doing this and that they are trying to set up the permission structure for the broader right wing to view this totally American, totally peaceful act of protest as somehow dangerous or a threat. So we need to hold those two things at the same time. Like this is ridiculous, right? That they are grasping at straws as they are losing a political fight. So they're desperately trying to find something else to agitate around. And then two, in doing so, they are trying to set up the groundwork and lay the groundwork for more of this sustained Stephen Miller attack. So we got to both recognize that this is ridiculous, and we also have to be really clear about the stakes in this moment.
I think they're Barbara Streisanding this.
Yeah,
I think this
that's
is
happening.
Do y'all know the Streisand effect? It's the idea that something maybe that wasn't getting as much attention, suddenly you make comments about it, and then everybody hears about it, and then everybody is talking about it, which is the exact opposite thing that you wanted to happen. I think the Republicans are making this mistake. So here's my recommendation. Take these accusations from Mike Johnson and the other Republicans and let them fuel your recruitment efforts. Get other people in your community who weren't going to show up on October 18th and say, you see what these assholes are saying about us? We got to show up.
Yep.
We've got to show up.
Yep.
Use this to fuel your recruitment. Use this to fuel your registration events. Make this the largest peaceful protest in modern American history. And then you know what's going to happen? Mike Johnson and the rest of them are going to shut up about this pretty damn soon. They're going to cave on the shutdown. They're going to lose in the November elections, and we're going to wipe the floor with them in the midterm elections next year, regardless of what kind of smears or lies, attempts that they make to try to subvert the results. We've got the people power. We're going to organize it peacefully but insistently. And Mike Johnson can cry all the way to the minority as far as I'm concerned.
That's right. And I also just want to be really clear. I was saying I was parroting a Republican. I think grandmas are awesome. I want more grandmas.
Oh, hell yeah.
All the grandmas out at our protests.
Yeah.
Love it. Yes.
Okay. The resistance grows as the resistance grows, and when we reach the 3.5% of sustained resistance, where do you see that power leading to the most impact? What change might we be able to make before the midterms, particularly to help protect the most vulnerable? Great question, Kim. Great question. Do you want to go, Leah, or should I?
Yeah. Why don't you kick it off?
Well, so I'm going to say several things, but let me start with this. The 3.5% is not some magical figure that we achieve. We had Erica Chenoweth on here a few weeks ago, and they were very clear that this is a good figure to aim for, but also the organizing work we're doing on the ground isn't headed towards one endpoint and then we're done. There are going to be a lot of intermediate successes that we should try to achieve, and I will point to them right now in front of us right now. One is the shutdown fight. We need to win this shutdown fight, and that means unifying Democrats, cheering them on, criticizing the Angus Kings, John Fettermans, Cortez Mastos of the world who have caved, but cheerleading all the other Dems and making sure Republicans take the blame for this to show what happens when we fight back. We win when we fight back. That's something we can achieve right now. Right now, this week, next week, going into New King's Day, we can achieve that. No King's Day, we can make the biggest peaceful protest in modern American history and pull more people in. That's something we can achieve in November. We don't have to wait for the midterms next November. This November, less than a month from now, there are elections in Pennsylvania, 3 Supreme Court races. There are elections in Virginia and New Jersey, state level elections. And there's Proposition 50 in California. We can win that now. Leah's talked about this. You've talked about this a lot, Leah. Earth 1 and Earth 2. We are living in an authoritarian breakthrough moment. And we still have a constitutional republic where there are elections. We should use this power that we're building now to win those elections. And ultimately, when we retake power, I think we need to be thinking of reforms and accountability on a scale that the Democratic Party has not thought of up to this point. We need to usher in an era of accountability. There can be no Merrick Garland of the administration that takes hold of power in 2029. That needs to be unacceptable. In 2027, when we have the House and the Senate, there can be no confirmation of Trump judges that refuse to acknowledge who won the 2020 election. There can be no, well, let's just move on and engage in bipartisan compromise with the fascist regime. We need to exercise accountability. So what can we achieve? We can achieve a whole hell of a lot, but not just 4 years from now or 2 years from now. But right now, there are things we should achieve. And I think the strongest movements are those that both have their eye on a long-term vision, but don't just work towards that. We're notching wins along the way.
I'm gonna add one addition. I agree with all that. I endorse it. Did you mention Tennessee 7th as a
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, great,
Okay.
great, great. Yeah,
Okay, y'all, this is very exciting.
very
So
exciting.
Tennessee 7th, the first former Indivisible staffer running for Congress, I
Yeah,
believe Afton Ben, who started as an Indivisible leader and member of our team in Tennessee as our
great
organization,
organizer.
went
Incredible
on
organizer.
to be on the state a state representative and is now running for Congress in a district that is are leaning but not but doable in this moment,
That's right.
and so what we are really excited about that. If you've not followed her on social, started to support her, check her out. Super exciting. And then the other thing I was just going to
That's
say,
Afton Bin.
Afton Ben.
Afton Bin in
Mhm.
Tennessee. Very, very
Yeah,
exciting.
really cool. I mean, and having worked with her, she is exactly the kind of person we need in Congress right now.
Powerhouse.
So, then the other thing I would just add is, when you talk about what can we do with this kind of critical mass before midterms to protect the most vulnerable, the first thing I'm always going to tell you is find your local immigrant rights organization, find your local immigrant rights support coalition, figure out how you can get involved at a local level on the ground in supporting folks who are under threat in your area, because a lot of times the most immediate way that that kind of coverage can help is really in the hyper local level.
I think that's right. And we're often talking about ICE and the National Guard terrorizing immigrant communities. I will say I feel like it's been getting less press, the attacks on the trans community in recent weeks and months. Some folks are running actions on this. I would not lose sight of exactly what this administration is doing to terrorize trans kids and how hesitant many Democrats are to stand up because they think it's a quote unquote loser issue. I don't think any issue standing up in defense of human rights is a loser issue. And we need to be the ones out there saying, no, we're not going to cut some people loose because some pollster tells us that we shouldn't be talking about it. So I think this is work to be done, not in some hypothetical future, but there's work to be done right now.
That's right. I'm abrupt shift. I'm getting many questions in the chat about where they can get my shirt, and you are going to have to contact the Prickly Pears of Pahrump Indivisible, Nevada. They're a wonderful group that is holding it down out in Pahrump, about an hour outside of Las Vegas. I went out and canvassed with them a little while ago, which is why I've got the shirt. But reach out to them. They have awesome graphic design as well as a lot of amazing organizers.
It is a top tier Indivisible. We
Yeah.
have a lot of Indivisible shirts, y'all. I will say this is a top tier Indivisible, local Indivisible
Yeah.
shirt. Okay, KCS, can you talk about the state of federal employees right now and how we can support them? Well, so the state is that the federal government is illegally and unconstitutionally trying to fire them. Russell Vogt, the human embodiment of Project 2025, who is now in control of the Office of Management and Budget, is saying that he's going to go fire a whole bunch of federal employees, which he is not allowed to do. AFL-CIO and others have announced they are going to they are suing. They are already suing. This will be an immediate legal fight. What I would do, support unions, support the federal employees unions, and support the folks who are organizing outside the union structure to support those federal employees. We should be making a lot of noise about this. They are not allowed to do this. They're doing what they've been doing all year, which is announce some big action that, oh, now we're going to do this, but they have no right to do it. They get tied in the courts. There's massive blowback. I would say this isn't an obvious ideological move. Republicans were pushing Trump to lay off. That's a bad term. To stop with the talk about doing layoffs. And they're moving forward anyway. Republicans understand that this is not going to redound to their benefit. And Trump is just doing it because he's a clown. So I think they're weak on this. That doesn't mean I'm happy that federal employees are being attacked. I think it's atrocious and we should come to their defense. But I think this is a stupid political move and they're not going to succeed legally and it's going to blow back on them politically. And we should be being very loud of our support of federal employees right now.
That's right.
Guy asks, many signs that the regime is moving towards the Insurrection Act, plenary authority comments, NBC reporting on discussions in the West Wing. Shouldn't we be moving up the first general strike and recommending personal preparation, talking with work supervisors, cutting back spending, and discussing how to coordinate the dates and communication? Let's prepare hope and compassion to all. Guy, question, Leah, about general strike.
Yeah.
And actually, can I add I'm curiously, we haven't talked about this, a wrinkle. I was talking with somebody about general strikes in history. And often when we're talking about general strikes on this call, it's like, when is the country going to come to a halt? When is there like a national general strike? But usually when there is a general strike, it's localized. It's in one
Yeah.
specific place. So one idea that I've heard bandied about is the right place somewhere where there is currently ICE terrorizing American communities, or the National Guard is being deployed to invade a state that doesn't want it.
Yeah. So we talk sometimes about kind of the phrase general strike and the ideas on this call. I know there's a lot of folks who are really activated here, and I think a couple of things that I want to name from having some conversations across different spaces about this is, I think that when people have this idea that this is something that can kind of happen swiftly and without a ton of, kind of like in response to a particularly alarming thing. And the reality is, you can't it's like a muscle, right? Like, you're not going to actually get to the kind of disruptive capacity involved in a lot of people kind of exerting a pretty high level of disruption of regular day activities without people working and building out kind of local organizing networks that are capable of more and more diverse organizing tactics, community support, and mutual aid before that happens. And so, I think we've definitely talked about, like, should there be a day without, right? Where people, think, if you think about, for example, a day without immigrants, which has been a very successful, protest in recent years around kind of highlighting the role that immigrants play in making our economy work. Those are things that require a decent amount of preparation. And so I would say I would encourage folks to think not of, the mass protests as like a different track or a different thing entirely, but as part of the way in which you gather the kind of sustained local organizing capacity that's capable of more and different actions over time.
Yeah. I do think, I suspect this is somewhere. We talked about this on the last call, that the way that successful movements judge their success is, are they bigger than they were before? Are they more unified than they were before? Is the regime that they're organizing against less popular? And are their tactics diversifying? Are you doing new things? And I think this question about General Strike fits into that bucket. We can't do the same thing again and again and again. We've got to be innovating our tactics. And this is the direction that successful movements would likely go. So stay tuned. Karen, shouldn't someone be suing Mike Johnson for closing down the House during the shutdown and failing to swear in Adelita Grijalva?
I'm not actually sure about the mechanics of
The
suing.
legal, I mean, I would bet that Grijalva can do this. This is fundamentally a political problem. I think this is fundamentally a political problem. We all understand why they're not swearing in Grijalva, right? Does everybody on this call understand? I'll put it to the chat. Why do you think they're not swearing in Grijalva? Let's see. I'll see who gets the first answer that's right. Epstein. That's right. Judy, you win. Ding, 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 ding.
Right.
It is Epstein, because Grijalva would be the 218th signature on a discharge petition. A discharge petition is used to force a vote on a topic that the majority, the speaker, does not want. But there are enough Republicans who would like to see the Epstein files released, and then obviously all the Democrats. Grijalva would be the 218th. They desperately do not want a vote on this because it is a political headache for them, and possibly more catastrophic than that. I don't know. I haven't seen the report. That's why they're not doing it. So this is fundamentally a political problem, and they think that they take on less political damage by delaying than they do by giving in. And so they should take some political hits for refusing to seat her. I don't know if folks saw it, but the two senators from Arizona went up to Mike Johnson and confronted him directly on this, and he looked utterly ridiculous. He is inconsistent. He is hypocritical. This is a pure political power play, and it's short term. It's not going to look good. Doesn't look good now. He looks weak and pathetic and hypocritical in doing it, and he should. Now, is there a way to force his hand? I think there's only a way for him to take some political hits by doing this, rather than actually forcing them. Don asks, I'm hearing that our not so wonderful leader is considering invoking the Insurrection Act, possibly to shut down any protests. Should we be concerned about this? So this was touched on the last question on general strike, but what about
Maybe talk
insurrection?
about the
Yeah,
Insurrection Act
insurrection
specifically.
specific.
So we are seeing the same reports that you are, and I think we have to understand this again in the context of this broader escalation, right? Like, none of this is happening in isolation. Like, the presidential memorandum that is, authorizing all of these attacks on civil society, the and funders, the escalation of deployment of ICE and the National Guard into Portland and Chicago, the prosecution of Tish James. This is all part of, essentially a post Kirk decision by the Trump administration and specifically by Stephen Miller to massively escalate their campaign of repression, right? So it's all happening as part of an organized collective plan, and it's certainly not possible, or certainly quite possible, that the formal use of the Insurrection Act might also might also be part of that. I think what I would say on that in general is, one, they're already kind of claiming and using a bunch of the powers that are theoretically authorized under the Insurrection Act. And so I would encourage us, I think it might potentially be an organizing moment if they invoke it, because I think a lot of people will be extremely alarmed. And I'd also encourage us to understand that, like, it's almost in some ways a spectrum of the different kinds of actions that they can take rather than like an on off switch, right? Um, I think the simple answer, and I know that this is not fulfilling because it would be nice if we had a totally new tactic that we could pull out of the box in this moment and that moment. But in this moment, the purpose of an Insurrection Act deployment, the purpose of a lot of the things that they are doing is to chill free speech. It is to shut down peaceful protest. It is to make people feel like they cannot stand up and push back against the regime. And the only and simplest way to respond to that is to ensure that it backfires, because more and more and more people come out when you tell them that they are not supposed to be exercising their rights. And so this is the moment that we're in with No Kings. There's a very clear escalation. There's been signaling from Mike Johnson, Roger Marshall, et cetera, that they're gonna they're talking about No Kings. That will either backfire because millions and millions of people come out, or it will not. And what
Yeah,
we do
that's
over the
right.
next week is actually the difference.
That's right. Trump, as Scott Ross asks, Trump has been impounding funds, stopping aid appropriated by Congress, giving aid to Argentina, and hiring additional ICE agents. Where's the money not spent going? Where is he getting the money for his pet projects? What can be done to stop his appropriation of Congress's role when Congress won't stand up for itself? I think you're pointing to something real here, which is Congress won't stand up for himself,
Yeah.
for itself. I mean, Congress has abandoned its responsibility to exercise control over the federal budget. It really has, and it's because the Republican Party has been taken over by the MAGA faction of the party, which is a personality cult in support of Donald Trump. What should be happening is some healthy friction between Congress and the presidency, and Congress should be jealously guarding its constitutional rights and responsibilities, and it is not. That said, some of what Congress has done has been to give Donald Trump a blank check. One of the things that we are dealing with right now in this shutdown, right now, this minute, is will the Republicans agree on some basic language that helps us prevent rescission and impoundment? This is one of the Democratic demands. This is one of the small things we can do to constrain this regime is to not allow it to treat the federal budget like Donald Trump's personal piggy bank. Republicans currently are pushing back behind the scenes. Democrats are pushing for it right now in the shutdown. This is one of their demands, and we are backing it up. I think this is important, and we should be pushing for it. But also, some of what Congress has done is fund exactly what Trump wants to do. The big ugly bill gave $171 billion to ICE and other parts of the secret police and enforcement regime that Trump wanted to create. That's money that's been appropriated legally by Congress for this executive branch. So that's not money that he's taking elsewhere. Congress gave it to him. That's a problem with the Republican members of Congress, but there's nothing unconstitutional on the face of it of that. That's how the game is played, and the Republicans decided to give it to him. That doesn't mean we need to just accept it as a fait accompli. It doesn't mean that we just need to say, well, I guess ICE is fine now and we shouldn't push back against what they're doing in communities. But it does mean the issue here isn't that Trump is taking money from somewhere that he wasn't supposed to put it on ICE. That's the Republicans who gave it to them. And so as ICE is terrorizing American communities now and over the course of the following months, the Republicans who gave him that money should answer for it. The best way to get Congress to show up for itself, to stand up against this administration, is to make sure that this Congress isn't controlled by Republicans headed into 2027. And I will tell you, Proposition 50, I think, is going to pass. We're going to get 5 seats out of that. That means 5 Republicans could tomorrow switch to the Democratic Party if they would like. There's nothing stopping them. I think it's in their political interest to stop just bowing in front of Trump and start exercising some of their responsibility. But if they don't, there is no backstop that isn't us, that isn't the American people saying, I don't like that. I'm no longer going to let you wield power. You're going to lose in your next election. Leah, that was too much. I talked too long. You take the next one. Okay, Tony. Tony asks, so how best to assemble a shadow cabinet? Tap accomplished people under 62 years old with the ability to speak plainly and credibly to puncture the Trump administration's egregious narratives. Have legacy and social media reporters responding on a daily basis. Pitch a big tent. Don't draw rigid ideological lines. Perhaps add a couple of moderate Republicans.
Yeah. So this is the idea of the shadow cabinet, right?
Yeah.
That you're going to put together like a team of people who are going to specifically speak to the different, different agencies and the ways in which Trump's governance is hurting us all. Um, we've had this come up a lot. It's something that's got a lot of energy behind it, and and I think we're generally supportive in the sense that we think Democrats should be trying a bunch of things to break through. Like no individual thing is going to hit, and also you just have to keep experimenting to see what successfully breaks through. Now, I will say, I think the obstacles are less about the idea of the shadow cabinet and more about kind of the cohesion, the coordination, and the like cross party commitment to kind of treating this as a unified effort. You look like you've got some thoughts here, Ezra?
Yo, I'm exhausted about this. Can I just say, I desperately want the Democrats to be competent at messaging. And right now, I'm in cheerlead mode. Can I be honest? I am not. I've been plenty critical of the Democratic Party and its leadership all year. And right now, they're digging in and fighting on the shutdown. And so I'm in cheerlead mode right now. After we're through this, I think we really need to talk about how we build a Democratic Party that understands the media ecosystem as it exists in 2025. And how do we support leaders who do not form their messaging strategy based on what is the blandest message that pulls at the top of a list of 40 different messages and just repeats that again and again and again. I I think we have a loser messaging strategy driven by leaders who are stuck in a past version of the media environment. And they either need to update how they engage in media, or we need leaders who understand what it is. I think part of this is generational, part of this is DC brain rot,
Yeah.
and I don't care at all. I don't even care what it is even anymore. We just need competent leaders, y'all. This isn't ideological. I want to win. I want to carry a message successfully. I want that message to travel far and wide. And we don't have that right now. And we're not going to get it unless we demand it. So if I were y'all asking, how do we get this? Know that we've been talking about a shadow cabinet now for, gosh, 10 months. We're not going to get it just talking about it. There's a primary season coming up. I would look at who in this primary season, maybe they're challenging an incumbent, maybe they're not, maybe it's an open seat, and who in this primary environment represents that strategic orientation. Focus on that one or two people and say, I want them in Congress, and I'm going to do everything I can to get them in Congress because we need more people like her or more people like him carrying a message. And get them in because we need more smart messengers and communicators who aren't stuck in the old way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually okay. Thank you for a resounding and clear explanation of the stakes here. And I will just add on this. If you are in Washington D.C., if you are in these circles, there is an absolutely exhaustive back and forth in, social media and journalism and meetings around like what is the right message and which messages test 5 points better than the other one and which ones activate more backlash and all that. And I'm not saying that that doesn't have value. There you should test things. You should have a little bit of a sense of how things actually land with your target audience, and that is one tool for it. But I am saying that there's just this massively underlooked piece of this, which is who is delivering that message. Are
Yeah.
they someone who feels like a person with real credibility? If you're talking about affordability and the cost of living, is it being delivered by someone who seems like they've maybe ever in their life struggled with affordability and the cost of living?
Yeah.
Because if they don't, and if they haven't, and frankly, a lot of people within elected leadership haven't, then yeah, no shit, it's gonna not land with people, right? A fact that I think people should understand as we think about Congress and we think about kind of how people get into these positions is that if you're trying to be taken seriously by a body like the D-Trip, right? The congressional campaign, the body that basically like,
Congressional
yeah,
Campaign
sorry.
Committee.
You need to have you need to prove that when you're launching a congressional campaign that you can raise $200,000 out of your own network. And if you think about who that leaves out, right? Do you know a teacher who would make an amazing member of Congress, or a union shop leader, somebody who is showing leadership in their own life, who is respected by their community, and who absolutely cannot raise $200,000 to get started? We need to have the kind of party, and we need to have the kind of system that's actually like finding those people and moving them into leadership so that people trust messages because they are delivered by people that they feel like they can trust, who are like part of their normal lives.
But this is where I come back to, it's on all of us.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to suddenly snap our fingers and have the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee or the DSCC, the Senate arm, suddenly say, you know what, Leah, you're right. We're going to start doing that. They are going to push the rich folks, the folks with big donors behind them. And that's just how they operate. And so if you want something different, if you like what Graham Plattner Maine is saying, and you think his message is carrying on, like going to carry, and he feels authentic, and that's the kind of messenger you want, then support that guy. Support other folks. And I'm not saying this, I mean, we don't have a dog in this fight. We're not in primary season yet, but I'm saying this is on y'all. This is on us. This is on all of us who care about having a Democratic Party that doesn't suck, that doesn't lose. We've got to demand better. And we can't just have faith that the formal institutions are going to take care of this. We've got to do it. So start rallying. Like, again, let's get through No Kings. Let's get through the shutdown. Let's get through the November elections. But soon after that, I think our mindset has to be, great. We've carried off all of these campaigns. We're in a stronger place now than we were before. Now let's turn our eye to the primary season and what we can get out of it so that we head into November as strong as possible.
I think that's right. And I will just add one final thing, which is that when we talk about primaries, a reaction that we've historically gotten is, that can be really divisive. And I don't want to overlook that, and I don't want to sugarcoat it. But I also think that part of the way that we end up in this cycle, we've been doing this for 8 years. Part of the way that we're end up dissatisfied with the state of Democratic messaging now is shying away from that crucial stage in the process where you shift who is making decisions within the party.
We've been on this question a lot.
Yeah,
we have a lot of energy on it.
I can answer another question.
I don't. I will just say I have some optimism here. I have some optimism here in part because of how bad things have been. I think rank and file Democrats are far away from the leadership structure of the party right now. And that kind of fracture, although it's painful now, and I would like a unified opposition party, I think that creates an opening. I think we can have a real talk in the coming months about what Democratic Party we want. And we just need to take advantage of that opportunity, and I'm hopeful for that. I think there's going to be a healthy conversation among friends who want to build together about what the best way to go forward is. And if we want to have a voice in that conversation, we got to stand up and make our voice heard.
That's right.
What a great question, Tony. That really just set us off. Okay, Kimberly asks, how concerned should we be about Dominion voting systems being acquired by Liberty Vote, which is led by a former Republican election official? I literally just saw this news earlier today, that maybe it was last night that it was being the news. And I think there was a preference for paper ballots, was what the Republican who bought it said. Leah, thoughts on Dominion voting we've been talking about for God knows how long?
I have not dug into this specific news, and I'm hesitant to offer like top line reactions without a little bit more like up-to-date context. Have you?
So here's what I would say. We have so much to be concerned about, Kimberly. And so the question of how concerned should we be? It's like, how many 4 alarm fires can we deal with at once? My answer to how concerned should we be about sketchy behavior from Republicans to possibly subvert the election results is, we should be very concerned. I have no faith that this regime intends to just abide by election results and go forward and lose power at the end of the next midterms. No faith at all. And then the question is, okay, so what do we do about it? And there are 2 obvious things that we can do about it. One, you can build the largest midterm margins in the history of the Republic. That's what we did in 2018, and we took the House. Largest midterm margins. We need to beat what we did in 2018. 2, you can prepare a mass, peaceful, unignorable people power force so that when they try to subvert the election results, we are there and we're saying no. And I'll give you a bonus. Number 3 that you can do is, a lot of this happens at the state and local level. And even in red states at the local level, there are election administrators who can push back against subterfuge or other kinds of shenanigans. And we should get smart about the interventions that can be made and where we can make them. But how concerned can we be? I'll be honest. We are at about 170% capacity right now, focused on one, the shutdown, two, no King's Day, and three, this November elections. And so my mode is we're going to put out these fires and then we'll move on to the next fires. We can't do everything at once. And I would give that advice to everybody here. If you're at 11 for everything, you're going to burn out. So I would try to, as much, don't stop consuming news. It's good to stay informed, but as best you can, try to put some blinders on and focus what's in your control and what's actionable right now. Phyllis asks, Tucson Indivisible is launching a Don't Buy It campaign to show we the people have economic power and propel No Kings 2 energy in November. Don't Buy It challenges us to back on discretionary spending, back down, or probably
I would say cut back.
to cut back. Oh yeah, to cut back on discretionary spending with big businesses in November and promote alternatives. Is there a way to promote the campaign beyond Tucson? Phyllis, you're doing it right now.
Yeah,
we're doing it to
great
thousands of
thing.
people right now. I'm very interested in economic power campaigns coming out of No Kings 2. It's something we've been talking about. Leah, you've thought a lot about this.
Yeah, like, can I just get a little like show of emojis? How many people are already participating in the Target boycott?
Target boycott.
If you're not, that is a core one, right? Okay, look, there we go. I love that. Hello, everyone. I think the holiday season is a really important time for this particular conversation and this particular leverage. I don't think we don't have the full plan to roll out for you right now, but we agree with you that there has to be like a more serious economic campaign and a more serious economic strategy. I know a lot of people were inspired by how swiftly we were able to kind of all collectively leverage our power with Disney. We want to think about how we can do more of that. And also, there's a lot of planning that goes into it. And it's most of the time not going to be a like, and 30 seconds later, we're all out the gate. Sometimes it will be, but a lot of times it's got to involve a little bit more planning up front. So trust that we agree and we're working on it.
I think it's one of the most, when we talk about is the movement diversifying its tactics, this is where I'd like to go. I think this is one of the most exciting places to go, and I think there's a lot to be done here. I'm most interested in rapid response. How can we put pressure and achieve a win immediately and send the message that if you capitulate to the regime, there will be immediate countervailing force, and so you should factor that in. I think that's what happened with Disney so effectively, and we should be looking out for opportunities there. Peter asks, your letter responding to stories about Indivisible. Oh, wait, I can't read. Your letter responding to stories about Indivisible being among the groups being investigated for links to domestic violence and/or terrorism was excellent. Oh, thank you. May I forward that or sign it in your names to our local newspaper? Alternatively, can I edit it lightly and steal it? Steal it, please. Steal it.
Yeah.
Use it. Can I just say, if anybody here ever wants to use any of my email newsletters, I send them every Monday, and steal the language and change it a little bit, you have my consent. Use it for your own purposes, for your Indivisible groups. I do not feel ownership of these things. The important thing is folks get the message and take action. So by all means, take it. Thank you, Peter.
Yep, 100%.
Kenneth, have you seen the video in which Kristi Noem blames the Democrats in Congress for causing air travel delays because of the shutdown? The video will evidently be played at TSA checkout points at airports. This demands a response. My first thought was to flip the bird at the screen the next time I fly and the video comes on. This may not actually be the best idea, but lots of people do it. It actually might be a plan. I found the video on CNN. Yes, I did see this. What bullshit. And it is innovative, though. Look, they're innovating tactically. They are trying to figure out how to needle Democrats. They are, in some cases, illegally using the powers of the administration in order to blame Democrats. We have seen this with them changing agency websites and inserting political messages, which is a clear violation of the Hatch Act. So they are doing that. And here's the thing. They're losing this fight, Kenneth. They are losing this fight. Most people blame Republicans for this shutdown because Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Most people want healthcare premiums to not go up. Our position has support of 57% of MAGAs, let alone normal Republicans, let alone independents. So Flip the bird if it makes you feel better. I would focus though on putting pressure on your Republican members of Congress who are forcing rural hospitals to close and forcing your premiums to go up. I think that's probably the best winning argument right now. Um, it is atrocious though that the kinds of things they're doing.
Yep.
Leah, anything else on that? Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Connie asks, can we talk about the impact of bearing witness or keeping vigils on the 24-hour cam Wednesday night at 3
Wait,
a.m.?
actually, sorry. Can I just want to go back to that one.
Okay,
I
yeah,
do think like this is the kind of thing that's also ripe for backfire tactics as well. Like,
go on.
I
Say
mean,
more.
if you are in line and they are playing that video and you've been in line for 2 hours, perhaps your fellow passengers would like to talk with you about why this is happening and why they had the time to record a video, but they don't actually have the time to negotiate or fix the shutdown, right? So, like, I think there is a certain amount of, first of all, I'm not entirely sure Kristi Noem is like a good ambassador on any of this stuff, right? Like, do you find yourself liking Donald Trump more after you listen to her for a little while? No. But I do think like this kind of stuff, like you saw this with the websites where they kind of put a giant banner on it that was super partisan. This is stuff that has the potential to backfire because most people aren't idiots and they don't enjoy being talked to like they're idiots. And so, I would also see this as like, are there ways to like actually creatively use the overreaches that they have where they weaponize the federal government to try to push a message and and yourself use that as your own organizing entry point.
Mm.
So, all right, now.
Okay, talking about vigils and bearing witness. On the 24-hour cam Wednesday night at 3 a.m., there were 3 people and then one quietly sitting in cold in front of Portland's ice facility. And the last one gave the camera a little wave when they finally got up and headed off for the night. I was surprised at how I felt when I saw this video. There's something about the ongoing presence of protesters day after day that carries important significance.
Yeah.
It's great, Connie.
Yeah. I think this is a really powerful point. I know we've got a lot of indivisibles who've been involved in vigils, sustained vigils, in actions and vigils outside of the Everglades detention facility, which has these absolutely horrific treatment of detainees. I think this can be a powerful part of the toolbox, and particularly kind of in bringing a very clear moral voice. So, folks who are working with faith communities, for example, and bringing out a faith element in how we're talking and framing these things. So, absolutely, I think this is one of those situations where sometimes you want the big, massive protest of everybody who's coming together to say no, and sometimes you want the moral voices saying, "I am bearing witness to this horrifying thing that's being done in our name."
Mhm. Dory asks, and this is actually a question relevant for the survey that we're going to have going out, talking about messaging and signage. Fuck ICE, I'm quoting her. Fuck ICE and Shigalamiga are righteously popular, but family friendly and promoting nonviolence? Question mark. Some Los Angeles groups are discussing a unifying sign across the many different events in the area and came up with 2-foot wide yellow cutout signs of the No Kings logo. It pops in a crowd any way to nationalize it. Love things that pop in a crowd. And I like the way that you're thinking, Dory, which is, I think the way you're thinking here is the way we're thinking of is we need to build a massive movement. That is what works here. We need to build a big coalition that can agree on what is it that we are organizing against, what is it that we are organizing in defense of and for. Uh, and we should all be considering that when we're thinking of our chants and our signs and our actions. It can feel really good to say something that you truly believe in the strongest possible language and maybe cursing a lot. And maybe that you're the best judge. Is that going to convince more people to come with you? Maybe in some circumstances it will. But I would advise as you're thinking up your slogans, I think leaning into humor, leaning into forceful language, leaning into people power, all that is good. I have no problem with cursing in the right context. I think that can be humanizing and feel authentic. But I would take as a frame of what do you want to see on the front page of the New York Times? What do you want to see covered in the press? Is that something that you think is going to represent the movement well? Because we're trying to build a movement for everybody to be part of. And that doesn't mean it needs to be bland and all the same. It's not going to look that way. Everybody's going to have their different stuff. It's real and organic. But I do think that level of messaging thinking would be healthy for folks. And at the end of the day, it's up to all of us. And we're going to have a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of different things. I do like the idea of this big pop in the crowd, 2 foot wide, No Kings yellow sign. That seems nice.
Yeah. I would say, look, when you look out at the pictures of the first No Kings, you just see this like beautiful tapestry, and people are there for a lot of different reasons. People are carrying all kinds of different flags, people, and a ton of American flags, but also, also Mexican flags because people are proud of their heritage, right? Like people are bringing themselves to these events. They are bringing their pride in this country, their pride in each other. That is good. Like they're the specific things that are bringing them out are on the sign. Like we're not aiming for literally everyone is holding one sign. We are aiming for we are showing up in everything that we have because collectively what brings us together is that we can stand against authoritarianism, against corruption for our neighbors, and that's good. So I think use your judgment and also be true to what's bringing you out.
That's right. Nancy's question is about boycotts. I think we answered that. We're with you, Nancy. We're curious about this. We're curious about economic pressure in general. So we're thinking about this. Stay tuned.
I wait, I wanna
Oh,
sorry, I
sorry.
keep having new ideas that are coming
Yeah.
up, but I do wanna elevate something that's coming up in the chat because people are asking questions about this. So one extremely effective tactic that has been being deployed in Portland to great effect is basically funny inflatable costumes,
Oh,
right?
I
There
loved
is,
it. I loved it.
there's like an inflatable frog and a unicorn and they're all having a dance party in front of, the National Guard, right? And ice. And it's like the basic idea that Portland is some kind of, war-torn neighborhood that has to have this kind of like heavily militarized presence, it is being contested in the most unrebuttable way by people who are being funny, right? Because like if you if you see a giant inflatable unicorn, like it just immediately disrupts the administration's narrative in an enormously effective way. So think about humor as well as you're thinking about this stuff. Think about if you got a giant inflatable T-Rex costume, maybe this is the time, right? Like we're actually trying to collectively disrupt this like wildly offensive, wildly threatening set of narratives that they're trying to propagate about us. And some of that is about like leaning into humor. Some of that is about leaning into I saw some folks talking about like, yeah, we are grandmas and we are going to show up, right? Like, get your sign. Yeah, that's great. Bring your American flags, bring your inflatable frog costumes, bring your kids and dog. Like, this is a massive celebration of people coming together joyfully.
The humor point and the ridicule point is not like it's fun to talk about. There's a real seriousness to humor when it comes to standing up to authoritarian power. Leah, you did what your master's thesis on OPOR, and
I did. And also I'm noting people saying that they have to go because there's a safety training happening
oh,
right
safety
now. So
training.
I want to
Well, I wanted to answer this last question from Jerry on the safety training. So Jerry from Indivisible Chicago Alliance asked, will Indivisible National do more trainings on disciplined nonviolent cooperation? And what are the lines between provocation, rising to the bait versus cooperation and blocking the fascists? So maybe we end with a note on safety, on defusing political violence, and on security, because that's a hot topic right now, and we're doing a lot on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you're part of a No Kings planning team, because you're getting regularly pulled into a whole host of different trainings around safety, security, and de-escalation. We're gonna have some mass trainings as well on that front over the course of this week. Um, do you specifically wanted to add here?
I think just as the administration, or sorry, as this regime and as the Republicans who are supporting it ramp up attacks, again, I think it is important to meet them and let this fuel your recruitment for for the No Kings events on October 18th. The best way for us to show up is prepared and in numbers. This is how we win. They are going to lie, they are going to cheat, they are going to smear. They don't have the power though. That comes from a place of weakness. We've got the power. We just got to organize it. Just an organizing challenge. So we will see you next week on Thursday. I know we've done Friday 2 weeks in a row, but we're back to our regularly scheduled programming Thursday, October 16th. I made that up, October 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll be back for the last What's the Plan before No Kings 2. And until then, keep on organizing, y'all.
All right.